Okay, I found what I was looking for, and if you're playing at home, it's 8.6.2, and there's this thing called an activation number. And so let me just show you real quick. Right here in the top right corner, that R is the activation number, and it could be a die that has like a value of 2 or 3 on it. But the revolutionaries, what this is saying is it's a max number of spaces equal to the restraint. Okay, so the restraint happens to be 4. So they can do this up to 4 times. But what's interesting is the procedure is that we're going to pick one space, do that space, and then we're going to roll a die. And if I roll a 4 or less, let me make sure. If the roll is less than or equal to, then the operation's over. So I may not do all 4 spaces, even though the restraint is equal to 4. I may only do, 1 or 2. It depends. I have to roll a 5 or a 6 for them to be able to do more than one space. Does that make sense? So, so now it's the matter of, okay, well, which of the 4 spaces do we do this in? And actually, I don't think it's going to be this one because this one already has an unrest. But let's look at our chart. So what we do here is, this is the easier part, is we start at the top and then it's in order of priority. So where there's no unrest is top priority. And so, as you can see, we have 5 locations that have, but this one has unrest, so this one's out. So now we have 4 left, right? So let's keep going. Next one, 2 pop. We already verified all of them are 2 pop. Most gorillas, they all have exactly 1. So if Raj is player, the most support is next. So this is an interesting one because this one has 1 support and this one has 1 support. So these 2 are tied. That one's out. That has no support. We're in control, yes, but there's no support. Oh, I'm sorry. There's 1 support here too. So 1, 2, 3 of them left. We eliminated 1. And any non-violentist player, that we skip that. And then we just pick a random space from here. So from those 3, we're going to pick a random. So remember, first, second, 5, 6, and let's look. 5 is in the middle, 6 is over here on coastal. So then we would go to 6-1, which is Bombay, and bingo, we found our match. So what on earth did we do there? Let me go back and look again. First, in each space, activate an underground gorilla. If city, province, or state, shift 1 level towards neutral and add 1 unrest marker. Okay, so put the camera down here. So we're going to shift towards neutral, right? So this goes away, and that takes 2 off of Britain. Okay, so we just lost 2 of our victory points there. We have to add an unrest marker, which is just something that's off the board. And then this gorilla shifts to active. So Bombay presidency's got all kinds of, they got a protest going on, they got unrest going on. It's not cool. And then restraint gets shifted -1. So now, well, but that doesn't happen until the very end. I apologize. So now we're going to roll, and if I get a 4 or a less, they're done. And I know you can't really see it, but it's a 1. So they're done. They're only going to create unrest in 1 place. Again, that's to emulate the fact that they have no resources. So this is like their little AI way of handling it. I'm a little mixed on that one. I actually prefer if they would play with the resources properly. But now the restraint goes down to 3. So that means there could be potential of more protests, things of that nature. Okay, so then we continue with the turn, but the thing is the turn, they get to do a special activity on top of this. So they want to do assassinate. Okay, so that's the first thing they want to do. They want to do assassinate, and they got A, B, C, D. So let's keep going then and figure out what that means. So the A, B, C, D is yeah, we're going to try to do all of them. Okay, so let's go look at what assassinate does. Eliminate adversaries and shift unity. It goes along with unrest. Location, one space selected for unrest. Procedure, remove any one active piece, not Gandhi or unity. I'm sorry, not Gandhi, unity -1 if nonviolence is removed. Okay, so it says assassinate one adversary among unrest spaces. So now the real question is which one do we select? An adversary is the NP Congress. So that's an interesting one. Are they really going to give me no guidance on this? That doesn't say much, does it? One adversary. What if I had more than one to choose from? Ah, you bums. All right, adversary priorities pieces table. When the active NP faction is instructed to remove or replace adversary pieces, first select the space 8.4.1. Then select the pieces within that space to be replaced or removed. So we use the space selection priorities table. The problem is the space selection priorities table has nothing for assassinate. Okay, here we go. NP Revolutionaries assassinate procedure. From among spaces already selected for unrest, use the remove or replace column of the space selection priorities table to select a space, and use the adversary priorities table to select the piece removed. Okay, so what they're saying is see right there where it says it's the 1, 2, 3, fourth column over. It says remove or replace. It's next to the place gorillas. That is the assassinate column. So if we had more than one to choose from, we would use this as the guide to pick where we're going to do the assassination. Now, the assassination is restricted to only the places where you did the unrest action. And in this case, the unrest action was only in one location. So we're doing assassinate in Bombay. We can't do it anywhere else. So that part's easy. I'm just trying to explain. Well, it's even for myself, because this is my first time playing with these AI bots. We're trying to make sure that we understand what is the procedure. So if we do this again, it won't be so cumbersome, right? And we're learning as we play. So with that said, we're definitely doing Bombay Presidency. And then what it says is that we're going to choose it from the adversary priorities table, which is 8.5, to select the pieces removed. So that's what I'm about to read. Selecting pieces. The adversary priorities table specifies in order which pieces are to be removed. Only remove a piece. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so the procedure is remove any one active piece. And you can see, not Gandhi. Unity is -1. If it's a nonviolent faction, it's removed. And right here's the table, the adversary priorities table. The first thing you want to remove is an unrest marker. But you got to understand, this is a table for all the factions. So it says never remove your own pieces. Well, an unrest marker is considered your own piece because unrest helps the revolutionaries. So we would never do that. So only remove a piece if allowed by the specific operation, special activity, or event. So that's the other thing. The special activity limits it to only active pieces. An unrest marker is not an active piece, even if this wasn't something the revolutionaries want. NP factions replace adversary pieces before removing them when given a choice. Never your own pieces. NP Congress and Muslim League never remove protest markers. Muslim League never removes Muslim state markers, and the revolutionaries never remove unrest markers. I already guessed that. But, and then it's trying to say that this applies primarily to events. If multiple factions pieces may be removed, the priority table is used to select the first piece affected. Then the target that faction's remaining pieces to the extent required. Okay, so let's look at the table. First one is unrest marker. Can't do that. Muslim state marker. Can't do that. Protest marker. It's not an active piece, so we have to skip that because you can't assassinate a protest marker. A base, Gandhi, but it says remove any one active piece, but it says not Gandhi, so we can't do that. A troop, there is actually no troops there, so we can't do that. The player faction, which would be, the Raj, can't do that. Most common piece, an activist, then a sepoy, and then a guerrilla. Of course, the guerrilla. Now, we went through that long process. I'm sure some of you are probably sitting there thinking, gosh darn it, Jeff, there's only one active piece that's not Gandhi in the whole province. So this wasn't that hard of a thing to figure out. I get it. I'm just trying to procedurally explain how this game goes. So that way, if you're, trying to learn how to play this game and you're watching my video and you're not going to sit through all 30 hours of this playthrough, at least within the first couple hours, you're getting the idea of how you go through an AI bot and what you need to do to resolve this in case this is, a different situation. But this is what gets assassinated. Now, when it gets assassinated, it goes back into the box, and it doesn't matter if it's face up or face down because these boxes don't do anything. But it did say that the unity goes to -1. So the unity crashes down to a 2. And that unity, of course, means that you got the revolutionaries killing off activists, and, that doesn't make India a fun place to be. Okay, so next, we're not done. The ABCD means you do all of them. There is no crisis, so we flip that. Infiltrate. Oh, hold on. Oh, I see. Nope, we don't do anymore. We did A, so we don't get to do B, C, or D. These are other special actions that they would have done if we didn't do A. Okay? So we did A. That was the top priority, and then it says stop. So the turn's over. Okay, I know that took a bit. To be quite honest, if you took out the time it took me to confirm things in the rulebook, that wasn't very bad. And compared to the bot chart in, let's say, the Revolutionary War one, this was amazing. Compared to the bot chart in the Algerian War, this was super amazing. Compared to the bot chart in Pendragon, it was good. The Pendragon bot chart is actually quite good, but this isn't bad. I mean, if you take this plus the little sheet that we have, I actually found this to be pretty helpful. And I think once we get the hang of this, we'll fly through it a little quicker. Okay, turn is fully over. All right, and what happens now is this, of course, is going to go to ineligible, and all three of these go to eligible. And as you know, we already took the card and put it over here. So this is going to come over, and then this flips over. Okay, so these are the two cards we have, and I know it's not very easy to read, but green gets to go first, and then us, we go second. And you can see by the arrow that they're going to want to do the event, and apparently so did we. You know, if we were an NPC, they would tell us this is an event we really want to do as well. But let's see, green goes first. It's a critical event, so let's see what they do. So here, Britain denies the possibility of separation. Remove one Muslim state or any base. That, of course, helps Britain. Place a Muslim state in any Muslim province. Troops there to any cities. Then place 2 pieces there from out of play. Okay, that is the birth of Pakistan. That is actually quite good. Quite good indeed. So, all right, so Pakistan is clearly going to want to do this, but let's do this procedurally. They are first eligible. Is the current event critical and effective? Hell yes. Effective, of course, meaning that it gets to add a Muslim state, which is exactly what it gets to do. It even gets to add pieces from out of play. It gets to do all kinds of stuff. So it is both, and for sure, they're going to do the event. Okay, so now you might be wondering, okay, the event doesn't give you any guidance. There's no AI bots, there's none of that stuff. So here's the part to understand, is that the good news is with all the slow things we were doing, is you can see here for the Muslim League, we're going to place a Muslim state. So that's the event. So this little chart I've already learned is going to be our savior. And I'm going to see if I can put that underneath the board a little bit there. There we go. So there you can see that's what we're going to do. So first thing it says, place a Muslim state in any Muslim province. So place a Muslim state that is not at active opposition. That's top priority. Well, there's a whole bunch of them, right? There's 1, 2, this one is active. And then everything you see on the other side of the board is all qualified. So let's keep going. 2 population, so that eliminates this one, for example. A few of these northern frontier ones. In fact, Punjab is the only one over on that side that is qualified. So it's between Punjab and West Bengal. Okay, so we're down to 2. Fewest cubes. Cubes, of course, are our troops, the sepoys and that. There's 0 here, and Punjab has 2. So West Bengal is going to be the Muslim state. So they become a Muslim state, right? That means we can no longer put Raj troops there until we remove that, of course. And they are going to get 4 points for that because the Muslim state gets double the population. And the Muslim state is on 2 right now, or the score, and it's written right here. So 2 times the Muslim state pop. So they're going to get 4 points for that. So this 2 is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the 6. So they moved up. This is definitely a good card for them. Okay, then it says, then place 2 pieces there from out of play. So the good news is that's everything with the card. So 2 pieces from out of play just means we're going to grab 2 of these. And they go there like so. And it was from the out of play box, which is super helpful to them. Now it does say 2 pieces. So let me back up. Maybe we can put a base down. That is actually a very interesting question. So it says, we can place bases, place protests, place activists, remove. Yeah, here it is. It says it right there. Event, execute the leftmost effective action. So when you get to place 2 pieces, it's saying place bases first. So you want to do from left to right. So bases come before protests, which come before activists. So what I did was I put 2 activists in, but it says from out of play, so it has to be activists. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. It says Place 2 pieces there from out of play. The available bases are not out of play. They're available. These are the only things out of play. So we did it correctly. We did it correctly. And that's the thing. You got to be a lawyer sometimes when you're reading some of this stuff. But, okay, I think we did that right. They got 4 points, which is actually a lot for them. They only need 15 to win. Jeez. Okay, now it is our turn. So now here's the interesting thing. We obviously don't get to do the event, but we get to do a full action. So here they did the first event. And so if we go here, we get to do a full faction operation plus special activity. Now, it behooves us to at least look at the next card, but orange and black will be eligible next round if we go this round. If we pass this round, orange will go, and then we'll actually be first eligible next round. So we could pass if we think this event's going to help us. Let's take a look. Shift up to 3 spaces each, 1 level towards passive opposition. For each shift, we get +3 resources. Well, that's not good for us. I mean, we're basically giving up a lot of points to get money. And here, move up to 3 activists or guerrillas from out of play to available. That's not good either. We don't like this event at all. So we're going to go ahead and not do that. And we're going to take our turn right now. Okay, so we spent all this time worrying about AI. I never even studied what are our choices for actions. So we actually have a lot to choose from here. Now, when it's your turn, you get to choose any of these on the left side. So you can see that there's deploy, garrison, sweep, and assault. Okay? And then because we get to do a full action, we get to also do a special activity. And you can see treaty there, and govern, martial law. And then, of course, there's some notes on the bottom. And if you do deploy, you could do any special activity. Garrison is any, sweep is any. So it doesn't matter which one we do on the left. Sometimes they'll restrict. Like, for example, if you do attack as the revolutionaries, you can only aid or infiltrate. You see that? And it's written, problem with having only 2 hands right here. You can only do aid or infiltrate if you pick this action, or this action. You can only assassinate if you do this one. So aid and infiltrate are these 2. This one is only available if you pick unrest. Does that make sense? And we can also choose to do this side first and then do this side second when you're doing a full operation plus special activity. But we're not the revolutionaries, we're the Raj. So let's take a real quick look at what we're trying to do. So deploy would let us get some forces on the board. I'm not against that. In fact, I think that's probably what we should do. Garrison will let us protect railways and quickly move forces. So I think what we want to do is we want to deploy first and then garrison second, which of course is 2 different turns. But see, there's a cost, and then you're moving cubes. So garrison doesn't let you take cubes. Like, we have a whole bunch of cubes there that are available to come into the game, and we can't do that with garrison. Garrison is taking cubes that are already on the board and moving them to the railroads. So we don't want to move the cubes we already have on the board. Sweep is going to expose guerrillas. So move cubes that are not in protest spaces. In each destination, activate a guerrilla for every cube. And then assault. We can remove or arrest adversary forces. So we have to pay resources equal to the restraint. In each space, remove 1 active piece for every 2 cubes, or if troops are present, for every cube. Okay? Remember, sepoy versus troops. So you can sort of see how they all do different functions here. This one is causing guerrillas to become exposed, because you can't remove the guerrillas and with the assault action unless they're active. And they're not active unless you sweep them. Does that make sense? So obviously these 2 are for later. we want to get cubes on the board. That's what this deploy is. So let's say we want to do that. Then we have a choice here. We can remove adversaries or move into states. So with a treaty on any state, we can either remove one active piece for every sepoy or move sepoys not in protest spaces into the states. That's helpful because the Muslim state is now a state. And if we wanted to get some troops in there, we could. So we may want to do that. The next one is govern. Shift support and remove adversaries. I sort of think we're going to do this one. So up to 2 spaces with cubes, we either remove an active piece, or if there's no activists, remove a protest marker or strike marker, or if no active adversaries, we can buy imperialism for up to 2 levels. And that's what this is explaining down here is if we buy imperialism for up to 2 levels, it's right here. Every 3 resources spent removes 1 unrest marker, shifts towards active support, blah, 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 or removes a Muslim state marker. Last one is martial law. Maximum of 1 space, 2 during a crisis. We can end a protest and remove activists. 1 to 2 spaces with cubes and activists. In each space, remove an activist to available for every cube and remove any protest. If it's a city, province, or state, add 1 unrest marker. Shift the space 1 level towards neutral. So those are our choices. Let's do the deploy first. Okay. So we want to, the cost is equal to the restraint for each space that we deploy sepoys. Troops are free, okay? In each city space, we can place up to 6 cubes. Then if desired, move 2 from out of play to available. So that's at the end. So we don't get to move them from out of play to available and then place them. So for each city space, in each city, place up to 6 cubes. Then if desired, move 2. Remember, this is only cities. This is not provinces. So we're going to place a bunch of troops in our cities, and then later we're going to garrison, which means we move them out of the cities into the provinces. So, and we only have to pay if we deploy sepoys. So let's figure this out. All right, so I want to place, for example, I can place 4 troops here for free. And the way you do that is you can mark it like this to show we're going to place there, and then I'm going to place, you know, like we can put something down there, but I think Calcutta is going to need some action, so I'm going to place there, right? And I can do 6. So this is 2, 4, 6. Now, technically speaking, you're supposed to identify everywhere you're going to do it and then execute from there. And then what these black ones are for is when you do the secondary action, which we're thinking might be the govern, okay? Then we would put, we're going to say, okay, now I'm going to govern here or wherever. That's what the 2 different colors are for. Is one's for the special action and one's for the regular action. So let's say I want to do this. I'm going to put 6 here. Calcutta, right? And then I still have 6 more. I want to get them all out, baby. And I think these 6, I'm going to put in Delhi. So we're going to really get a lot of troops out there, right? So now I put sepoys in this and this, and the restraint's 3, so I have to pay 6. So I'm at 35, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That cost me 6 resources. So I did that part. So now we get to do our special action. And I think we're going to do govern. So let's re-look at that again. Although treaty might be nice because we could move into the Muslim territory, that Muslim state. But here, up to 2 spaces with cubes. And it doesn't have to be the places we just did our actions. In each space, either remove an active piece or, and it says remove bases last. Activists and Gandhi go to jail. So if Gandhi's arrested at the end of the Raj turn, shift restraint -1. then Congress may place an available protest in up to 2 cities, province or states without protests. So we have to be careful if we arrest Gandhi. All right, but in 2 spaces, we can remove active pieces. Bases are last. If there's no activists, we can remove a protest marker or strike marker. And if there's no adversaries, we can buy imperialism, which we just talked about. If we did that, or the other thing we can do is we can go into a state, remove 1 active piece for every sepoy, or move sepoys not in protest spaces into the selected state from adjacent. So those are our 2 choices. So like one of the options here is, of course, to go from Calcutta, move some sepoys into West Bengal so we can get into the Muslim state. That's one option, right? The other one is the govern. So up to 2 spaces with cube, we can either remove an active piece or do this imperialism thing. So imperialism is we can spend 3 resources to remove an unrest marker, or once there's no unrest, shift 1 level towards active support. Now, there's no active pieces here. There is a base. So what I could do is, like, for example, I can say, okay, this is one of my spaces, and you can see here, we're going to remove an active piece, and then it has this one. Remove bases last. So that's counting as an active piece. So I could remove their base if I pick East Bengal, for example. And I'm allowed to pick any location that has cubes, which it does. So we can remove their base. That's one of the things we can do. Or, like I said, the imperialism lets us get rid of an unrest marker. Okay, but I can't pick the same pace twice. And in each space, I'm only removing 1 active piece. That's my entire action, and it says max 2 spaces there. So, so we can remove an unrest marker, or shift 1 level towards active support, or remove a Muslim state marker. Now, the problem, so this remove a Muslim state marker is awesome, but we got to get our sepoys in there. You see, that's one of the reasons why I was thinking of doing the treaty, to move the sepoys in there. But getting rid of this base might be nice. Now, obviously, if we do Bombay presidency, we don't have any cubes there, and then we'd be forced to arrest Gandhi, which I'm not sure we want to do at the moment. Where else do we have cubes? These are all states with cubes. So we could get support in any of these, but those are all 1 population. They're not quite as important as a 2 population spot. So as you can see, some of these spots are not going to be as heavily fought for, are not as important. Whereas East Bengal is a nice 2 population spot. Punjab over there has no support. So I think I'm going to do govern. And I know it'd be nice to get in here and mess with them, but I'm going to do govern. And this is going to be the first one. So we're going to remove this active piece. And of course, it just goes back into available for them. And then I can't do anything else. I mean, obviously, I'd like to get rid of this unrest marker, but that's all I can do. The other one is going to be Punjab. And there's no active pieces here. So there's nothing to remove. And we're going to spend 3 resources, 1, 2, 3, to implement imperialism. And it says for up to 2 levels. So every 3 resources spent removes 1 unrest marker, or once no unrest, shifts 1 level towards active. So I'm going to spend another 3. Because we're going to do 2 levels, right? And we're going to grab level 1 is for passive support. Level 2 is going to be for active support. So Punjab is now, Punjab, however you pronounce it, is now a level 2 active support. So that means I'm going to get 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 towards my score. All right, I know this has taken a while. Obviously, it goes a lot quicker if you don't have to explain it to a camera. And it would go quicker if I've played this game before, beyond just a playthrough. But I hope that makes sense. And so that ends the turn. And you can see here that we're going to go to ineligible, and then this goes to eligible. And as you may have noticed, they didn't get to do anything. And they also, like if you were a human player, you don't even get the benefit of a pass, because it never became, you're in the eligible box, but you never became eligible to go. And a pass is something you must do when you're eligible. The fact that we both took our turn and they were later in the turn phase, that doesn't mean anything. They don't get to get a free pass, pun intended. They had to become eligible, and they never did. So they basically got skipped for another turn. The Indian Congress has yet to take a turn, and we're on the 4th card of the game. So even though I didn't get to do much myself, I am finding it rather funny that we've prevented them from taking a single turn, and now it's the 4th card of the game. But they will get to take a turn now, because these two are the only eligible for the next turn. So it is rather late at night, but I'm starting to have fun playing this, which is what coin games do. They are fun once you get through all the rules. So let's just maybe try to do one more AI turn, maybe both if we can, because these are both going to be AI turns. Let's see how this plays out for them. And I don't know, next thing you know, it'll be 3 a.m. and I'm still playing this, but let's try. Okay, so this is the first card that comes up. You can see it's not a critical event. And of course we need to have the AI. So what do they want? It's effective for them if it adds opposition, Congress activists, or protests. We'll figure that out in a second. And then here's the next card. And you can see that for the revolutionaries, the next card is very critical for them, but they're not going to get to go first. In fact, it's their worst nightmare, because these are the two that are eligible right now. So we're both going to get to go first next turn. So they're never going to get to see this card. So they probably won't pass either. But that's another problem for another day. So let's just take a look at this. Shift up to 3 spaces, each 1 level towards opposition. For each shift, oh yeah, we read this one already. And then move up to 3 from out of play to available. And then they remain eligible. That's an interesting conundrum there. They're playing a lot of those games with this. You don't see this very often in Pendragon. So I'm just why I'm chuckling so much when I see it. This is like the 2nd or 3rd card where it's manipulating whether you stay eligible or not eligible. Okay, so let's figure out what do they want to do. So I'm not going to hold the card up in front of you. I'm going to just read it. So first thing they want to do is the current event critical and effective? No. Are they would the next eligible choose the critical event? No. This is not a critical event for them. Will they be first eligible in the upcoming card? That's a critical event. No. So they're going to do ops plus SA. So what this means for them is they're going to do the ops plus special activity. They're doing a full action. If, for example, they knew that this was important, the event was important to them, they might have done this action, which would have prevented them from getting to do the event. And then, of course, this action is just they want to do the event themselves. So they're going to do an op plus full. And we have to keep this card out because black may choose to use this card. We don't know, but when it's their turn, we'll check. I highly doubt it. All right, so drawing from the bottom. Muslim. And there we go. There's our first Congress card. So I'm going to go ahead and discard these. Now, Congress doesn't have a a number because it's basically the number of protests plus Gandhi plus restraint, but we'll get into that later. So, nonviolent activists equal or exceed cubes in any space without protest. That's an interesting question. Yes, the answer is yes. And in Punjab, they're tied because the guerrillas are not considered nonviolent, okay? So there's 2 of them and 2 cubes. But here in West Bengal, there's 3 activists. Remember, activists is not necessarily orange. There's 3 activists here, but there's no cubes. And in fact, that's the only place where that's true. Interesting. Okay. Well, and actually, technically, Gandhi himself, well, although there's protest already in Gandhi's space, so never mind. Okay. So the answer is yes, so we're moving on. And here it says 2 or more protest markers are available. In fact, the answer is yes. There's 3 available because the restraint is down to a 3. So you can see there's 3 protest markers available. So the answer is yes. Now, if the answer was no, this means we would flip this over, and then you can see there's a whole other set of actions, right? So they're going to do civil disobedience. Select spaces using place protests. And Raj is the player, so they're going to get to do this stuff as well. Okay, so this one might get a little meaty. Okay, so civil disobedience. Let's look that up quick. Place protests and occupy railways. Spaces with protest or Gandhi plus spaces with Congress activists up to restraint is where they can go. First, in each space, place an available protest marker. If none, and then flip activists. Then, if desired, move any Congress activists there onto adjacent railways. Okay, so that's what they're trying to do. And then we have to get out the NPC because this says select spaces using place protests. So if we look here, you can see that place protests is this little column. So if it's not an active opposition, that's top priority. So I got to look real quick at their action again. What are the spaces that are eligible for this? Spaces with protest or Gandhi, plus spaces with Congress activists up to restraint. This is where it gets interesting. We said yes to a previous question because there was these activists. These aren't Congress activists. So now we're looking at, okay, where can we go to place protests, right? And Gandhi's space already has a protest. The other spaces where there's an activist, I mean, you're talking about a city with bazillion cubes, or you're talking about Punjab. That's it. They don't have any cubes anywhere else. I mean, this is sort of a thing where the AI got a little wonky because this is considered an activist, and that's the reason why we went down this rabbit hole. And now there's no places eligible for them to do this other than places with 1 million cubes. So let me look real quick. So place a protest marker if available and flip the activist. Then if desired, move any Congress activists there onto adjacent railways. So this says, from a space with 3 plus INC, get 1 activist onto a railway, highest econ first. I think INC means income. I know that's written down somewhere. I don't know where. So I think I need to pause and do some rule checks and get the answer to what is going to happen here. So thanks for watching. As always, stay awesome. And in this day and age, stay healthy and safe.